Good morning there. This is Pastor Jeff. This is our daily lectionary readings for Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. With it being Tuesday, we're still reflecting back on what happened at church on Sunday. Psalm 119, 9 through 16, once again is our psalm reading. Our Old Testament reading comes from Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 21, through chapter 24, verse 4, and then we pick it back up in verses 10 through 15, and then our New Testament reading is from the book of James, chapter 2, verses 1 through 13. We'll be listening in on the message. Let us take a listen. Psalm 119. How can a young person live a clean life? By carefully reading the map of your word. I'm single-minded in pursuit of you. Don't let me miss the road signs you've posted. I've banked your promises in the vault of my heart, so I won't send myself bankrupt. Be blessed, God. Train me in your way of wise living. I'll transfer to my lips all the counsels that come from your mouth. I'll delight far more in what you tell me about living than in gathering a pile of riches. I ponder every morsel of wisdom from you. I attentively watch how you've done it. I relish everything you've told me of life. I won't forget a word of it. Our Old Testament reading comes from the book of Deuteronomy. It starts in verses 23 through 21, and we'll go through 24, 4. When you make a vow to God, your God, don't put off keeping it. God, your God, expects you to keep it, and if you don't, you're guilty. But if you don't make a vow in the first place, there's no sin. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Keep the vow you willingly vow to your God. Your God. You promised to do it, so do it. When you enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat all the grapes you want until you're full, but you may not put any in your bucket or bag. And when you walk through the ripe grain of your neighbor, you may pick the head of the grain, but you may not swing your sickle there. If a man marries a woman, and then it happens that he no longer likes her because he has found something wrong with her, he may give her divorce papers, put them in her hand, and send her off. After she leaves, if she becomes another man's wife, and he also comes to hate her, and the second husband also gives her divorce paper, puts them in her hand, and sends her off, or if he should die, then the first husband who divorced her can't marry her again. She has made herself ritually unclean, and her remarriage would be an abomination in the presence of God, and defile the land with sin. This land that God, your God, is giving you as an inheritance. And we pick it back up in verse 10 through 15. When you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, don't enter his house to claim his pledge. Wait outside. Let the man to whom you made the pledge bring the pledge to you outside. And if he is destitute, don't use his cloak as a bedroll. Return it to him at nightfall, so he can sleep in his cloak and bless you. In the sight of God, your God, that will be viewed as a righteous act. Don't abuse a laborer who is destitute and needy, whether he is a fellow Israelite or a foreigner living in your land and in your city. Pay him at the end of each work day. He's living from hand to mouth and needs it now. If you hold back his pay, he'll protest to God, and you'll have sin on your books. Our New Testament reading starts in the book of James, chapter 2, verses 1 through 13. My dear friends, don't let public opinion influence how you live out glorious, Christ-originated faith. If a man enters your church wearing an expensive suit, and a street person wearing rags come in right after him, and you say to the man in the suit, "Sit here, sir, this is the best seat in the house," and either ignore the street person or say, "Better sit here in the back row," haven't you segregated God's children and proved that you are judges who can't be trusted? Listen, dear friends, isn't it clear by now? that God operates quite differently. He chose the world's down and out as the kingdom's first citizens, with full rights and privileges. This kingdom is promised to anyone who loves God. And here you are abusing these same citizens. Isn't it the high and mighty who exploit you, who use the courts to rob you blind? Aren't they the ones who scorn the new name Christian used in baptism? You do well when you complete the royal rule of the scripture. Love others as you love yourself. But if you play up these so called important people, you go against the rule and stand convicted by it. You can't pick and choose in these things, specializing in keeping one or two things in God's law and ignoring others. The same God who said, "Don't commit adultery," also said, "Don't murder." If you don't commit adultery but go ahead and murder, do you think your non adulterer will cancel out your murder? No, you're a murderer, period. Talk and act like a person expecting to be judged by the rule that sets us free. For if you refuse to act kindly, you can hardly expect to be treated kindly. Kind mercy wins over harsh judgment every time. And here ends our readings for the day.